but our experience was different. Our our experiences were just different, and so I knew immediately that it's not going to work. And immediately when I got here, I said, "Okay, guys, where do you go to church?" Because that was part of my upbringing. I needed that, and probably the first weekend that I was here, I went to my Moriah church, and that's where I always attended church when I lived in Commerce. I was here. I came here as a freshman in '70, and I left. I got my master's in August of '75, and for 5.5 years that I was here, I went to Mount Moriah Church. One of my girl that I dated, her roommate dated a guy in the Norris community, Orvis Wayne Reynolds, and because they were good friends, I became his good friend. I was always in the Norris community with him, eating his mama's food.
Was she a good cook?
Oh yeah. And so that was my introduction to it, just by attending church there.
Were you surprised at this point there are still, I guess in that time the roads began to be paved and the indoor plant. Were you surprised by the conditions or did you say, well, that's just the rule, that's just the way?
I thought it was rural.
Mm-hmm.
That's
just how country folk
that's
do
what
it.
That's what I thought, because
Right.
I had even though I had relatives who lived in Linden, I hated going to Linden. I would refuse to go. I'm like, I don't want to go. It's too dang hot. I don't want to go. And so my family, my cousins and aunts, lived in Connecticut, San Francisco. They lived in cities, and so when I went to visit, other than Wichita, Kansas, which is not big, I went to cities. That's where my cousins and aunts and uncles lived. They moved to those towns, and so I thought it was just rural.
Mm-hmm. But the drive to the Norris community is paved, and the streets are
right.
The homes
Yeah.
are plumbed. So
Yeah.
there's just that disconnect. So you were there when the talks started happening, when NAACP, I guess the Norris Community Club formed, and
Yeah.
a lot of that, I understand, a lot of those talks happened at Mount Moriah.
Yeah.
So were you involved with that?
No, because pretty much we were students. My
Yeah.
existence was on this campus, and so the majority of my experience in Commerce had to do with this campus.
Right.
Now, at that time, and the conversion happened, the Norris community was called the Whole.
Mm-hmm.
And we were conscious of that, and we made comments of why does it have to be called the Whole, and why is it that, well, we already knew the answer, that if a train comes through and blocks the track, that you can't get out of the Norris community.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that yet. Huh.
Got to cross the railroad track.
Well, was it mostly Anglos that were calling it the Whole?
No, it was just the vernacular used among African Americans. And slowly but surely, people said, you know what, we really need to stop calling it that, because it's not a term that we gave it.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we heard it was called. Now, who called it that, I don't know. I don't know if that originated from the black community. I don't know where it came from, but we recognize that is a degrading term. We need to do different. And I don't remember how the name Norris community got on our tongues, but we started calling it the Norris community like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So on campus, there are some things happening with, I understand Talbot had a program putting white students with black students in the dorms and things like that.
Interesting you bring that up. I participated in the second one of them.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I was a freshman. We did it in Binion Hall. Why did I volunteer? I volunteered because I needed to do something, and because it was a new experience. And so we went over on a Friday during the day early, met, we had group sessions, we were paired with someone of the opposite ethnicity, you slept together, you ate together, and
what did you think about the experiment?
Well, I'm one of those that I volunteered because I wanted to gain something from it. And no matter what happened, I was going to come out of it with a better person because it's interesting, and I was a freshman. I just wanted that experience. I was here. It was something to do.
Right.
I wasn't drinking. I wasn't having sex. So
What else am I going to do?
what am I going to do?
So was your sense that it was a successful thing to do, or kind of a novelty, or just kind of a, what did other people think?
God, it's been so long.
Yeah.
I had a good experience with it. The only problem, I guess, was a follow-up. You know, what happened afterwards? You know, did it cause other people? Well, sociology major. I would, if I were to do it all over again, and I don't remember what the end result of it was. There a paper written? Was there something? I don't know what happened. I would have loved to have some follow-up and to come back the next semester with the same group of people to kind of see, did we really learn anything? Are we more open to each other as a result of this experience? Because for me, it was not very challenging because as an African American who came to here in 1970, there were still a lot of classes that I attended where I was one of only a handful of African Americans in the class. And so I was in the minority all the time anyway. So that's
Right.
nothing new.
Do you remember anything about the person you were paired with?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Dr. Talbot? What kind of impression did you have of
And Dr. Talbot
Talbot?
was just an extraordinary guy. He was, I ended up getting a master's in counseling, and so he was over the counseling department, or the counseling center here. I took his class. Just a very gentle person who was a father figure for everybody, not just African Americans. That's what I liked about him. He was just a good man who cared about everybody, and spent time talking with him. Like everybody else, just really, loved the fact that he was here, because other than Dr. Talbot, the only other African American professors or administrators that were here, Mr. Moore came a little bit later, but J. Mason Brewer
I was going to ask you about
was here.
him.
J. Mason Brewer, folklorist, I took the class. He was actually, he's not a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, but he was our faculty advisor. And so that's how I knew Dr. Brewer.
What did you think of him? What did you think of his work?
Interesting. He was entertaining.
I believe that.
Yeah, he was entertaining. He would always, I remember he would make this comment. He said, "You know what? The ducks are just killing me." And we're like, "Huh? The ducks?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I write these books and, I get my checks, and the deductions are killing me." Yeah, we're like, deducts. We're like, he said, "They deduct this and they deduct that." Yeah, deducts are killing me. And I know he's a folklorist, and I'm supposed to understand this, but I don't get it. Yeah, so he was entertaining, a good man, and so we gravitated toward them because we kind of needed that support and somebody to say, "You know what? You're in my prayers. I'm pulling for you. Anything you need, come and see me."
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, I am doing Mr. Button. Mr. Button was the chairman of the board of regents when I was a student here. He and I become the best of friends. But Mr. Button has this saying. He said, "You have